Exactly.
Okay.
Okay. We can start then, I think. Bridget, you want to take attendance, please?
Paying attention.
Good luck with that.
Get to start calling roll call. Gillette Prairie. You say here or online. Gooden Creek.
Yeah.
And I'm
Why
sorry.
don't you identify yourself?
I don't.
Brig Franklin, BRIGG, FRANKLIN,
Thank you.
Vice President.
Perfect. East Fork Alliance. East Fork Hills Rural. Alida Community.
John Stubbs, President, Elida, here.
Have we got others?
We do.
Doug Morrison, co-vice president elect.
Karina Stubbs, Vice President.
There's a lot of vice presidents.
Yeah. Two. Yeah.
Cool Creeks, Andrew Zaka. Greater Brush Prairie, I think is inactive. Heritage is inactive. Maple Tree. He's a. Window Glade. Northeast Hazeldale.
Yeah, that's us.
North Fork. North Salmon Creek. Pleasant Highlands.
I'm here.
Kirk and Galvin.
Here, also with Alan.
Thomas. I'm just a board member.
Just,
Kirk Schmidt.
you're the
Yeah.
heroes.
Do you have an officer's title?
Me?
You, yeah.
I'm a board member.
He's
Okay.
at large.
Ridgefield Junction. Herowood Hills, I'm here, Vicky is not. Sunnyside.
Here. Judy from Bordering Right.
Did I see there are two of them?
And then,
You're me.
But he's not on the board.
You don't need to
Chauffeur.
be on the board to be on my list.
Bodyguard.
Bodyguard, you're not even better.
West Hazeldale.
Brendan McGrain, President, and Amy Haight, Secretary Treasurer, is online.
Hello.
Hi,
West
Amy.
Hazeldale.
Yep.
What?
You said West Hazel.
Oh, I see. That's
So we're
right.
still here.
I have officials and residents. Okay.
Since we're neighbors.
Anybody here from the sheriff's office? No?
We have somebody online that is 360 ending on 755. Is that from a neighborhood?
You gotta unmute her.
Or is that one of our counselors or somebody from staff from the county? You're muted, so we can't hear you.
Julie Rolls here? Online?
Julie said she wouldn't be able to be here tonight. Okay, so we don't know who the person on the
Not
phone.
a number that I recognize, but
Thank you, everybody.
how many neighborhoods, Bridget? Well, it becomes important, yeah.
7 actual neighborhoods.
7 here or 7 total? No, 7 here. Okay, I guess we have no partners represented except for Marilee, and you were gonna talk about the neighborhood leader survey.
Yes,
Sorry,
I
you're in the
was,
middle
I
of
was,
something.
I was doing an extra count just to make sure. I got 8. I've got Curtin Creek, Elida, Northeast Hazeldale, Pleasant Highlands, Krebsville, Sherwood Hills, Sunnyside,
You're right.
and West Hazeldale.
Yeah.
I just was double checking.
No, I took my name, which is in the other columns.
So it does make a difference if whoever's online that ends at 755, it's a telephone number. If you're from a neighborhood, then you make a quorum because we need 9 for a quorum. So if you can unmute and you're from one of the neighborhoods, then
Please identify yourself.
you make the quorum, you make or break it, whether there can be a business done
755 is
tonight.
Kim Hemlick. Yeah, our president.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh, then it would still be the same number because if
Yeah.
that's Kim, then it's still gonna be Curtin Creek, so it's not an additional neighborhood. Okay, so.
So let's proceed anyway, and I want you to vote.
There might be somebody who checks in late, that does happen.
Vote
Yeah.
them out to them.
So I'll share the screen so people can see online. And let's do slideshow. And this is a little awkward for me. I'm gonna move this so that it's pointed towards here. And to get it so that people online can see and people. And then for those that are here in person, I'm just gonna hand these to Kirk and put you in charge of passing those out. I went ahead and did a hard copy because sometimes people want to scribble on something. Okay, so to start out, we sent out a survey. I believe it was in December. Might have been November. And it was distributed to identify the services in the program that are most valuable and to comment on any recommendations for changes or improvements. It was distributed not just to the chair or the president, but it was distributed to all of the board members that I had email addresses on record of. So there are 17 active neighborhood associations, but it was distributed to more than 17 people. 16 survey responses were received. Just for the record, here's the actual roster of what we have going on right now of the 17 active neighborhoods. I have the changes that have recently happened of new presidents and the most recent president, if there was a recent change, because Gary had stepped down and Jim was voted in. Jonathan stepped down and Brian was voted in. John is still the president, but I just put Karina in there, and Doug should actually be on here too. Diane stepped down and Jordan was voted in. Roger stepped down and John was voted in. And then I put Bridget in here because Bridget's the one who attends the meetings for Vicky. And she's the one that we're more familiar with because we see Bridget more often than we see Vicky. And I probably should put Isla on here because that's who we've seen most over the last year. But Heritage is looking for new leadership. We are trying to recruit somebody so that we can activate that one again. So it'll go back up to 18, but that's what we're looking at right now. As of this month, we're looking at 17 active neighborhoods. So this is kind of awkward having this big bar up here.
Yeah, we can't get rid of that, can we?
So this is question number 1 of what are your neighborhood's highest concerns and interests? I can make this one smaller though. So the highest one, which was not a surprise, was traffic and speeding with coming in as a tie for second, road maintenance and repair, and how to increase attendance and participation. Neither of those were surprises. I went ahead and put the bars on here because the visuals are always interesting for those of us who are visual. It's kind of nice to see the actual bars that are on there. And then this is actually third is bike and pedestrian safety and building projects and development. With fourth as a tie, crime and law enforcement and street parking and illegal parking and community events and maintenance of parks and development of new parks. These numbers were all the same. It's kind of like all these are pretty equal of what the interest level is on these. I didn't add in the ones that were it goes down to 20% on the next one. But I didn't add the next one that was down. And then the italicized things are every single one of these questions. I added an open comment aspect. So the italicized things are all of the comments. I did not censor anything that was put in there. Everything is as it came in. So the comments that were in there that were concerns and interests were railroad expansion, quarry expansions. Board is interested in increasing participation, wildfire, Camp Bonneville, wildfire mitigation, and sidewalks on Highway 99 with bike and pedestrian safety. And the focus on this, on me sending this out, was for me to figure out where I need to target if I'm asking for more money or more resources, or for reallocating the resources that I have if I'm not going to get any more money or resources.
Marilee, under building projects and development, did you get anybody talking about either zoning or, because that fits in there?
Yeah, this is all the comments that I got.
Okay.
And so everything that I got on the comments is included on here. And then this was asking about if you guys wanted to have any training sessions on the agendas. And it was a split. 40% wanted to see them as separate workshops. 40% wanted to see them added into the NAC agenda because they didn't want any extra meetings. 20% didn't think they were needed. One person wanted, or two people wanted information on GIS. Somebody commented that the GIS was really critical for people to understand, but once you understand it, then you really don't want to sit through training on it again. And Robert's Rules of Order was talked about, community engagement and outreach. Somebody asked about Canva and newsletter process, assistance with that. Development of the resource manual, how to use county tools, data and information. And then I asked about what the neighborhood's experience with Zoom was, partially because I wanted some data so that I could continue to validate keeping paying for it, because it does cost money every year. It's in my budget every year. 50% said that less than 15 people dial in, but they like to have the YouTube recording. 31% said that less than 10 people dial in, but and they don't usually get requests for the YouTube recording. 18% said that more than 15 people dial in, but they offer the YouTube recording to people that couldn't attend. Almost everybody said that they enjoy having the resource. And there's a couple of them that actually use it on their web pages. So I appreciate people that responded because it validates me being able to continue asking for it in the budget. And I know some of you aren't using it, and that's okay. You don't have to. And this is about that we upload it to the YouTube channel. This was interesting because some of you didn't know that I uploaded it to the YouTube channel. So that was good to know that I need to let people know that it's on the YouTube channel because it was pretty high. 38% didn't even know that it was available. Several of them sent it out to the email list. I know that Kirk has a request for it right after the meeting because he always emails me and he wants, and so does Four Creeks. People want it right after the meeting. A couple of them use the recording to help them use the minutes after the meeting. And then there's a couple of them that have neighborhood web pages and they post the recording for the members. It's interesting. There's a broad range of how people use it. I like it that we can put it on the YouTube channel because once I put it out on the YouTube channel, I don't have to keep it as a public record and I don't have to do public records requests because it's public domain. And so I've sent it out there and I can tell you guys where to find it and it's not a public records request issue any longer. So it saves me time and it saves you all time too, once you know where to find it. This was on things that you guys had used 2 or more times last year. People have used, the highest thing people have used is the postcard notices and scheduling county department speakers. The weekly update on community development projects is really popular. Sheriff and sheriff or the deputy liaison at the neighborhood meetings. And then the neighborhood webpage on county's website is popular for those of you that don't have your own webpage. Assistance with community calls to help with complaints or answer questions. The 4-page newsletter in place of postcard has been popular. Erica has been able to drop the cost of that to where it's almost the same, if not the same as the postcard. It just takes longer.
Yeah.
So I have to have at least 2 weeks longer to get it out. So that's going to be the rub. If you want a 4-page newsletter, I have to have it earlier to be able to have time to process it. And the reason why is she can just shoot those postcards out and they just print on both sides and then they go through the thing and chop them in half. And the newsletters have to go through and be printed on both sides. Then they go through a machine to get folded. Then they go through the machine to get folded again. Then they go through the machine to get tabbed. Then they go through the machine to get tabbed. Then they go through the machine to get tabbed. And so it takes a lot longer to process them, and they can't speed it up because it has to go through to be processed. And then a lot of people didn't realize that I've got the outdoor pop-up tent and the tables and the cooler for the outside neighborhood events. I also have, I want to call it hacky stack, and that shows how old I am. It's not hacky stack, it's cornhole. I've got a cornhole. I've got a basket thing that has balls. I've got a couple of other things that people that are in the kit that are games for kids to play that I've been collecting from different garage sales that people can just come and get if they want to do the popsicle and ice cream things. And if anybody else wants to keep an eye out for stuff like that, that we can keep and add to the collection, we can store it at the county. And then also I can create surveys through the county SurveyMonkey account if you don't have anybody on your volunteer staff that can do that. Valida did a great one. They did one for neighborhood hotspots for pedestrian safety and traffic speeding, because they have somebody named Patty who is amazing, that did a Google survey. I don't know how to do Google surveys, but the people that are doing transportation planning are really impressed with the work that she did, and it's really helpful to them. And it's actually going to bike and pedestrian people too. The comments that we got were newsletters are most helpful. Twice the postcard wasn't sent by the county in the last year. I know that was my fault. I was out of this. So I will own that. Oops. And then these are just thank yous. Thought we're going to use 4-page newsletter once a year. I'm working on doing that more often. I think as long as you get it in sooner, I think we can go ahead and do that more often than once a year. And then we got a comment I wanted to check in with you guys on. Current active members don't find a sheriff's liaison to be necessary at every meeting. They appreciate the open communication, but doesn't need to be at every meeting. I think this might be a comment from somebody that meets more often. Some of you only meet twice a year, and so you might want the sheriff there at both of those meetings, whereas the ones that are meeting every other month or every third month might not want them there at every one of the meetings. So I guess if whoever made this comment, talk to me so that I make sure that I can tell the deputy to pull back and that they don't have to be there. Because I want to make sure that if they don't need to be there, that they don't need to be there. Because I don't know who I don't know who made these comments. So so let me know. And then this is, do you currently attend the NAC meeting for neighborhood leaders? The response to this was 53% said they don't currently attend NAC meetings. 33% said they regularly attend, and 13% said they attend sometimes. And I went ahead and marked the number of the responses. So 8 said they don't attend, 5 said they regularly attend, and 2 said they attend sometimes. Because when I got this percentage, I wanted to know what the number was.
Did any of the ones who said they don't attend give reasons?
There wasn't any comments on there, I don't believe. This particular one.
What is the NACCC? What are the words?
Neighborhood Associations Council of Clark County. That's this meeting.
Okay, Council of Clark County.
And then, so to follow up on that, this is my information. So 2024, we had 19 active neighborhoods. 2025, we have 17. Quorum, so quorum requires 9. And from what I looked at of last year's attendance, 7 attend regularly. 2 have never participated, probably did not respond to that survey either. I would be surprised if they had. And then 8 attend semi-regularly, and that varies of what that regularity is.
But those 2 neighborhoods have filed their officers with you and have been.
Yes, they always do. Especially Ridgefield Junction has always just had one big meeting every year. It's actually a really interesting meeting to go to if you want to know what's going on in that area, because that's how I found out when the Costco was going to open, because they bring in the school district, the city, the wastewater district, just everything that is regional there, and there's probably sometimes they have 100 people at that meeting. So then I need to move that thing so I can read what the question is.
Does the current secretary?
Do you have a preference of how to attend the meetings?
You move that bar to the bottom, then
Well, then I can't read
Yeah, then you can't read the last.
the thing. So do you have a preference on how to attend? And it's, I don't attend now, but I might go in person. I currently attend virtually and appreciate the convenience. I currently attend in person and I prefer in person. And then I don't attend now, but I might attend virtually if something was of interest to me. And then I appreciated that people made comments on here, because these comments on here are very clear that, like this one, it's a 40-minute drive for me each way to the county offices. that's probably not gonna change, but they're gonna come in.
Yeah,
That somebody is 76 and they're not gonna drive in the dark or when it's rainy, that's probably not gonna change. And there's someone else that's saying doesn't want to go out at night. So those things aren't gonna change in the winter in the winter time. And that's totally okay, but then we know, you
Yeah.
know, that the attendance in person is gonna drop in the winter time. And we know,
And the importance for the hybrid
yes,
option.
and then it shows the
Yeah.
importance for the hybrid option. And then this was on the schedule of the meetings of whether they were once a month and what day of the week they were. This 38% was continue once a month with summer and winter break. Was 38%, 23% was continue once a month with no changes, 15% once a month with winter holiday break with no meeting in December. 15% was reduced recurrence to every other month. And then there was one person that wanted a different day of the week. And so it looks like there's kind of a consensus of no holiday meeting in, or no meeting in December. And then this was a bunch of comments regarding, this is just general comments regarding NAC meetings. There's multiple comments on here and they're all over the place. And like I said, I put everything on here. People commented about me, that me being a part of NAC, which I'm here to facilitate, but I'm not NAC. I facilitate the meeting of opening the building. So, but I put it on here because that's what people said. So, because I didn't edit anything. So there was comments to of speakers, what they wanted for presentations. They wanted roll call done differently. They wanted the agenda sooner. I guess I shouldn't say they. There's one comment for that. Comment that it was hard to get to every meeting. Someone wanting more information on best practices. And then there were some kind of negative comments about just the structure of NAC and the way that things are. And you guys have printouts on what that is all saying. I don't know if you want me to leave it up here long enough to read it. I can send this out to the folks that are online because I don't want to overstep my time on because we have other things on the agenda. We want to make sure we close on time.
somebody very much like you.
Oh, the next one's even worse. It's embarrassing. And so then there's suggestions and there's a lot of time on base information. I appreciated those comments because I feel like I'm trying to interject base information for the new neighborhoods at least once or twice a year. And I'm getting feedback that people don't want that and that needs to be elsewhere. And I have a comment on a slide, on a follow-up slide on that. It's something I'm going to do to fix that. Because I'm hearing that and I'm going to fix it. So it's definitely something that that needs to be fixed because we don't need to be taking up the time at this meeting doing that. And so there were a couple of comments on the other slide and on this one about the commission, which I had brought up at a couple of the other meetings earlier last year. in discussion because I've heard that in other places and it came up on the survey as well. So here were some actionable results from the survey that I've had some, and some of these are just things I need to do, that I need to respond to what I'm hearing. Some of them are things that you could do as well, but most of these are things that I need to respond to. I noticed that building attendance at the NAC meetings and at the NAC neighborhood association meetings appears to be a goal for everyone. Mailers are important, newsletters are well received, and we'll work to keep them in the budget. The hybrid meeting should continue for accessibility, and we'll do a better job of getting the YouTube links to and the recordings back to you more quickly. I'm going to look at training options outside of the NAC meetings, maybe something in line with the Learning Lab classes, and then record them, and then they could be watched on demand. I wanted to hear your opinion on what you thought about that. Then that way the new people could come to that training session. We could record it, and then I could have little links to that on the resource page on the neighborhood page. And then somebody that's new coming on board could go to that and listen to it and refer to it. Traffic and speeding seem to remain the highest concern. I'm going to share that portion of the survey results with Public Works prior to their presentation here next month about the traffic management. The neighborhood traffic try to get this straight. Neighborhood traffic management program. They're going to present to you about that next month before they present to the council. They already presented to the council at work session, and you should be able to watch that work session online. Concerns and complaints were aired in the survey regarding the structure and the meetings of the NAC group that need to be addressed. Oh, I've got somebody in the chat. This has been passed on to the county council. Nope, not yet. Not yet, Kim. So then discussion with group on NAC's path forward. So suggested next steps, group discussion or brainstorming session on NAC's purpose, meeting structure, goals, include all neighborhood leaders. Maybe send an email asking for input from the people that don't currently attend the meetings. Maybe use an outside facilitator. Questions to ask. What is working well? Why do people like it? How can we do more of what they like? What isn't working? Why isn't it working? What can we do to make it better? Maybe ask for volunteers for a subcommittee to work on the issues that are brought up during the brainstorming session. Develop an action plan by talking about options in coordination with the county's neighborhood outreach coordinator. There's no bad ideas when brainstorming, but there are some program and resource limitations. Create a clear and specific list that can be assigned to the volunteer leads. And then I have a new clarification on lobbying, which people have asked for. Am I planning on it? Normally, I do not address the council directly and pass stuff on direct to the council. Staff does not directly talk to council, and council does not directly talk to staff. That is a wall that is set up by the charter. I will be sharing it with the county manager, and then the county manager shares that information with the council at one-on-ones. And that's usually how that works. So this will be going to Kathleen, and then Kathleen will be sharing it with the council, and that's how they usually get that information. And then if they want a work session on it, then they ask for a work session on it. Or they also can ask for me to come to a what do they call it?
Work session.
Not work session. What's the other thing that they do?
Council time.
Council time. Thank you. So we had a definition that was given to me 5 years ago, 4 years ago. Kirk knows because
About 5 or 6.
it's been about 5 years ago. So we got, we had some more questions that came from another one of the commissions. So from the county manager, this is direct from the county manager. So we got some more questions from boards and commissions regarding lobbying. So this is verbiage that's direct from the county manager. So it says, with great respect for your passion and expertise, the county is open to hearing and receiving feedback, including but not limited to legislative and policy items. With the majority of county-sponsored board or commission support, information may be shared directly with county council through an email, open public comment during most Tuesday council meetings, the web portal, etc. If any individual would like to provide feedback, it should be noted that it is from an individual and not representing the board or commission or neighborhood association. The council takes all thoughtful feedback into consideration as they determine how to move forward with decisions regarding Clark County legislative and policy direction, priorities, and decisions. An additional handout has been prepared for best practices for neighborhood associations that is available through the neighborhood outreach office. I'll be handing that out tonight and I'll put it up on the screen too. Additionally, for clarity, while a county-sponsored board or commission can provide feedback, there are limitations for governmental entities and people elected, appointed, or employed by government to communicate regarding campaigns. If there are any questions, please reach out to the staff contact and we are more than happy to follow up. So if there's anything that if you think is going to be sticky, then check with me and I will make sure that I clear it before you do it. And that's the end of that, but I will go ahead and, oh, this is for later. Let's flip the screen share and let me find. I didn't pull up.
So we did make four with him joining.
No,
No.
Oh,
here. Same, yeah, same.
oh,
Agree.
right.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to find this guide in all of my files that I've got here. That one of the basic things that it has on here is the best practices for the neighborhoods is what we would like you to do if you've got an issue or a concern is we would appreciate if with our group, our goal is to try to work with the county and work with the council to try to solve those issues prior to going direct to testifying at council. So on our guide that we have, our step one is to come through the neighborhood outreach program and find out who the county staff in the appropriate department is, and we'll try to work through the county staff in the department first. If that does not resolve it, then we'll schedule a meeting with the department head or director. And if that still doesn't do it, then we will schedule a meeting with the district's counselor of your neighborhood. Or if you want to skip that, if you're frustrated enough that you do just want to write a letter or email to the entire county council, you can do that too. But then on this list, it has tips for how to testify, how to send things in, how to make sure that when you bring your testimony in, that you bring 6 extra copies, because you're going to need to have one for each of the council and you're going to need one for the clerk, and then the points that you should cover on your testimony, and then a reminder to practice, because your testimony is limited to 3 minutes. So it's good to try to practice reading it out loud before you go in,
Time yourself.
because the time goes really, really fast. And it's good to practice so that you make sure that you get your main.
If I could just add one thing to that, and that is at the speaking pace that most people should use to be understood by everybody, you should figure on no more than 120 words per minute that you're allowed to talk.
Yes. and to practice so that you don't speak too fast.
Right.
Yes, that's a good point. That's a very good point. And then there's also a reminder that even if you're going to hand them your testimony, when you go in and hand them a copy of your written testimony, it is good to go ahead and send it in 3 to 5 days ahead of time anyway, because they're going to get a packet that has all of the information with a packet of the public comment. And they'll be reviewing that before the hearing. And that way they'll have read your testimony prior. And if your testimony is more than 2 pages long, that way they'll have had time to read it and digest it, especially if it has maps and detailed information about an intersection that you really want them to look at, or wetlands, or impact to something. So those are just some tips, and I will be emailing that out to those of you that are online so that you'll have electronic copies of it. And if you want hard copies of it, I'll print out hard copies of it for your neighborhood meetings that are coming up so that you can hand them out to people, for people who like to have paper copies of things. And that's all I've got that's a lot. So that's all I've got. If you want copies of anything or have questions, I'm here to answer them. And I'll turn this back around and I'm going to sit instead of standing up here because I feel like a preacher and I don't like it. So it's back to you, Steve.
Okay. Well, the next item on the agenda is nominations and voting for the secretary and at-large positions. We have a little bit of an issue here because we only have 8 neighborhoods. So
We won't be voting on anything, will we? No action. So, other than,
well, the election, we can't do.
well, then allow me, if I could, Chair, I would like to, at the last meeting, I was nominated for the at-large position.
Right.
I would like to take this time to withdraw my nomination for that position.
I think we can accept nominations for secretary though.
You should be able to accept it. You just want to be able to vote on it.
Right. So if we could have nominations for secretary,
I nominate Bill Klein.
thank you very much.
That lasted all of about 15 seconds, so.
And can I assume
I will accept the nomination.
Okay, thank you very much. Since this is gonna be by virtue of the fact that she's moving in a week, Bridget's last meeting, I'd like then to ask you to at least act as acting secretary until we can have a vote.
You want me to act as the acting secretary?
I don't know how else to say it.
This is how you say it.
More than happy.
Bill, I appoint you as
Right.
temporary.
Well, now it's temporary.
Well, appoint you as temporary until you get voted in.
You guys throw in all the adjectives you want. You know.
Now, if you hadn't already withdrawn, you could have just been assigned, because at large, you could be assigned any duty.
Well, I was never voted on in the at-large.
Right. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, we're making it more complicated than it needs to be. I will.
okay. Thank you.
So are we gonna be still accepting?
Yeah.
Given that we don't have quorum tonight, we're still accepting.
We'll still accept till the next meeting.
Till election.
And do we have, I'm sorry, go ahead, Bridget.
And people who have attended this meeting count in their total.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
towards-
right.
We may get up.
And do we have, why is there a hand next to your name up there, Marilee? Oh,
It's just
it's just the cursor.
just a mouse.
Well,
like
that
a
was
little-
an innocent question.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a Mickey Mouse hand.
And then Do we have any, nominees for the at-large position? Would anybody like to place a name in nomination?
What does the at-large position do, or what is it?
Just that you're on the board, and there were a couple of purposes for the at-large positions. There will be two of them. The primary purpose was to have people to add input and discussion for issues that the board considers to assist in running meetings and conducting NAC business. It also provides an opportunity for somebody who's officially on the board.
This is a council board, right? The council,
They kept this council.
this council.
Yes, the NAC board.
Yeah, when you say NAC, I get lost.
But that's this meeting.
Okay.
That's this meeting.
This
Yeah, NAC
Neighborhood
is,
Association,
Yeah.
Park County.
right. And what you should do is, I don't have it in front of me, but the best way to understand all of that is to look at our bylaws and most importantly, the mission statement, which gives you a concise idea. The whole point of NAC is to provide a forum for discussion for the neighborhood associations, which otherwise have no formal connection with each other or with the county.
Can you be an officer in one of the neighborhood associations and also be on
Yes.
that board?
Yes, absolutely.
There is a minimum requirement of having attended
Four meetings
within
In the most recent calendar year. Or not,
No,
during the
it's
most
12
recent 12 months, sorry.
Yeah, well, I was,
You're close.
I'm on the second one.
Two more, yeah. And that's one reason for also, I mean, we couldn't elect an at-large person right now anyway, but that's one of the reasons for postponing it for another month or two, which will give us the opportunity to have more people who have been attending be eligible for the board. And since the whole purpose is to encourage, facilitate communication among the neighborhood associations and between the neighborhood associations, the county government, and the departments. And this is our entire purpose for me.
So that will accept further nomination at the whatever number we are now. People meet.
Right,
Yes.
exactly.
I have a question about clarification on the bylaws. I definitely agree with the original purpose of NAC being a collective of all the neighborhood associations so that they can have that link with county. But I question the current bylaws and the mindset of the board allowing non-board members of neighborhood associations to come and participate and take the floor on certain issues. And then, even though they're not a true member elected by their neighborhood association, as long as attendance requirements are met, that they still have the ability to be voted onto the board itself. And that seems in contradiction because these individuals that I applaud their willingness to be involved in the community, but yet they, in my view, they have not been elected
Right.
to represent the neighborhoods in which they come from.
Gee,
That's
I guess
true,
I
John.
should quit right now, since I have never,
One thing,
till January this year, been an officer of my neighborhood.
Well, that's why I commend
Yeah.
people like you, because it's people like you that stand up and are actually doing something measurable rather than just complaining. But my thing is that NAC itself is supposed to represent the neighborhood association board members, not Clark County. And the way I look at it is though NAC, whether intentional or not, it is given the perception that NAC is actually trying to create an additional neighborhood association of Clark County. And whether that's meant or not, like I say, I want to temper that, is that I'm not saying it is, but it's giving me and maybe other neighborhood associations the impression that we are making an additional neighborhood association.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. Let me respond to you in this way. And Marilee can correct me if anything I'm saying here is incorrect, but NAC, because of the way it's constructed, also has the obligation to conform to state law. Okay, it's a large part of the reason why we are prevented from taking political stands on things. One of the factors of state law that we have to abide by is NAC meetings are public meetings. Because they are public meetings, any member of the public can attend a NAC membership meeting. That's correct.
Yes,
Marilee?
and so are our court systems. They are public forum. Anybody can attend a court as part of involvement in the community, but yet they do not have any option to take the floor and be heard during those proceedings. But it is for clarity and transparency that I strongly agree of. So I have no problem allowing the community and encourage it to witness in person or online via Zoom how these proceedings are going and how their representatives are advocating for those concerns. But yet, just like a court, they are not allowed to have a voice or the floor at that time.
But as I understand it, the Public Meetings Act, or the Open Meetings Act, how it's requires that during a public meeting, that at least some time be allotted for questions and comments from the public, including people who are not members of a constituted committee or board. For example, to pick a topic that has been widely debated and in some circles unpopular over the last year, the freight rail dependent use involving the Chilhowee Prairie Railroad. There was an advisory committee set up about apparently 5 years ago, something like 5 months. Oh yeah, it was before the pandemic, around 89, no, not 89, 99, something like that. And there was the advisory committee was composed of about 15 members from specified stakeholder groups. Okay. And it was facilitated by Jose Alvarez, who's in community development. Yeah. Planning, right, planning. And those meetings, during the main part of the meeting, only ex officio members from the county and the stakeholder members were allowed to present, discuss, vote. But there was always a period, usually unfortunately at the end of the meeting, that was allotted for public comment, public questions. So the same would apply for NAC.
I would, I would encourage that. I would say that on the agenda, there could be something put where we open the floor for public comment.
So there's a couple of issues I'm hearing. One is the testimony or discussion, and then there's also the membership of the board as another issue. I think those certainly can be discussed. Bylaws amendments can be proposed and made and debated, and also, I would probably urge you to continue to have conversations with people and refine some of your thinking. Deal with some of the speed bumps and hurdles that are in there procedurally, and then bring a bylaws amendment that would address that, and we get a debate.
The other thing I should say though is that, Bill.
Well, I would just like to say that this has already been discussed a number of times.
Yeah.
Whether you have to be an elected member of an elected board member of the individual neighborhoods to actually hold office in NAC, and the bylaws
Do not
at this point in
specify
time do
that.
not specify that, but it has been brought up as an issue that is causing concern for the very reasons you're bringing up. And so the discussion's already been had, and more than willing to look at continuing that, because it's an ambiguity. We've still identified a lot of ambiguities where issues have come up that there's no one right answer. There's a direction you can go to debate what the right answer might be, but it's still ambiguous in the bylaws. And
Which is what I was just going to say.
I think more than happy to look at verbiage for the bylaws amendments that would resolve that issue.
Bridget.
And I think one or two of the comments in the survey back that up, that talking about those sort of things is a good idea.
Absolutely.
And when I ran for office,
Nominated.
the point being that being the president of a neighborhood association is sometimes a lot of work, and that you maybe want to delegate some portion of it to somebody else. But I get what you're saying. It's just a question whether all neighborhood association presidents have time for both the neighborhood association and this sort of county-wide collaboration.
Although we're not, I don't think John's proposing restricting it to only neighborhood association presidents or chairs.
No, anybody that's on the board, actually,
right.
elected, the elected representative. So, for instance, I can give a hypothetical situation or even a real one where people have road concerns. And so if it, unlike the railroad, but, far away kind of, I'd say if a community has a concern, no matter what it is, then it is their responsibility and obligation to present it to their designated neighborhood association, their board members. And then from that point, those representatives can come here, speak on their behalf, or the way I'd like to see it is if they got somebody so passionate about something, they could request from the president to speak and then introduce their guest and say, this is my resident expert on this particular subject.
Right.
They would then turn over the floor to that individual. Or they'd have to wait until the very end of the NAC meeting to present their case.
Right. That, just a second. The only thing I would say against that, even though I've lived with it by being on a couple of advisory committees, if there's going to be contributions to discussion, it's better to have them in the context of when the issue is being discussed. So
later,
yeah. So then public comment about, let's say, a zoning issue is not going to make much sense or have much impact if it's forced to be held until after roundtable and at the last.
Well, after a
2
vote,
minutes of the meeting.
after a vote has been taken, and then you get.
Oh, yeah, but then it's totally irrelevant.
Yeah, exactly. So that's,
So that makes it a little more complicated. Bridget,
I'm just a little uncomfortable with the discussion that's happening now, because the implication was that member of a community should go bring the subject up here, and I invited Vicky to attend. You right? Yeah. To attend because Vicky had an idea for something that crosses neighborhood boundaries.
Yeah.
So it's just the sort of thing that's ideal in a forum, but it sounds like it should have come officially from Florida inviting Vicky to speak.
Well, Florida, we asked.
It's about a
was
mural.
there any news,
all right.
you know, for the good of the order? And Vicky, we love her idea, and so did the rest of the community. But further discussions and focus found that this particular project is outside of a boundary. So we still said that we wanted to help her find out the appropriate contacts within the county that could assist in any financial or guidance, you know, and direction to this. But this would be a great example where you invited her to attend. And so that's where you are making the motion to be heard, and you're introducing your resident expert that has a passion in this. I think that's completely okay.
Okay, I was feeling a little uncomfortable because I felt like we should have been, anyway, I'm glad that's good.
She was just,
Yeah.
she does not,
Absolutely.
she resides in the Florida neighborhood, but the area of concern.
But that brings up actually one of the unique values of NAC as a separate organization.
Yeah.
It becomes it's supposed to be a forum for communication among the neighborhoods and between the neighborhoods and the county, the functions of county government and county.
Right.
Okay.
We are off topic. It sounded like there were some suggestions in Marilee's survey results that should lead to the discussions, the issues that you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
And there are gonna be things that are like this, that are on the boundary lines, or that are in between neighborhoods, or that are,
And
that
that's
are,
why-
that are things that two neighborhoods have to work on together.
Community resources that like Klein Line Park.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
That's the other thing Marilee's been talking about. We've been having a presentation at some point around the parks enhancement project. And so I suggested that we might want to look at whether this fit in that sort of a approach. So we probably don't have time to discuss it tonight, but
Yeah.
it's here.
I'll make sure I stay late so that I
Oh,
can
yeah.
touch base.
Thank you
Well,
so
I'm happy to be aware of some of the people from Hazeldale, because I think they'll care about this too, and maybe
Yes.
Salmon Creek. Thank you.
Thanks. That was a good segue.
Okay. I think what that comes down to though is it's probably wise not to too finely define this issue. Because we need the flexibility to be able to do whatever the group as a whole wants to do. You see my point?
I would say it still needs to be discussed, and some good ideas, especially if we're gonna look at the comments and stuff too.
Yeah, there are
Yeah.
existing ambiguities
Yeah.
in the bylaws
Yeah.
that can be addressed.
Yes.
That need to be clarified.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
things need to be clarified.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily need to write a book
Yeah.
in the bylaws, but we can certainly,
Yeah.
as a group, getting people together and identify where the issues are, and just, if nothing else, create a policy that the board
Yeah.
follows.
And we've been talking about
Outline.
creating a policy and procedure manual. And some of this could go in there.
Absolutely, it's, who can testify, and, who can be on the board, who can do this and that, and that's discussions that need to be had.
Yeah, and we need to just set that as an agenda item for
Yeah,
future
right.
meeting.
Okay, one other thing, unless there's more discussion to be had on the
Right,
topic.
right now, what I'm just passing out for those that are online is I'm passing out, people have asked for Robert's Rules of Order cheat sheets.
Yeah.
And I found my cheat sheet list. So, I'm sending that out to everybody. I will send it out by email as well. There's a one pager and then there's one that's a little bit longer. And it's the same one that I made up when I was planning commission clerk for the planning commission. In case you need it for something that you want to do.
Sure.
And your place, because
I got council
you are you're a volunteer wherever you're gonna go.
She's
So
got to
you'll-
get them all set up out there.
That's when they asked me to
Michigan
attend the
does not
council
know what's
meeting.
Okay, Kurt reminded me that we have one other important issue. Because I had also at the last meeting opened nominations for county employee of the year.
Oh,
And although we can't vote tonight, again, because of the quorum issue, Kurt did have a name that he wanted to place in nomination, so why don't you do that now?
Sure. So the Principal Labor Association would like to put forth Hunter Decker, the county forester, for county employee nomination for 2025. And
Actually, 2024.
is it 2024?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
Last year.
2024 for last past year. Got it. And for a variety of reasons, he's been an excellent resource for us rural people out there. It relates to our tree farms and just trees and hazard trees and in Camp Bonneville for wildfire prevention and that kind of stuff too. So I've written it up. I did send it to the board members. And I don't know, Marilee, if you want to send that out to everyone at all?
Yes, I can shoot it out to everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the name again?
Hunter Decker. He's been with the county since 2018, I believe, 9 years, so it's more than that, 16. Yeah, 2016.
Okay.
Were there any others, Marilee?
I did not receive any others.
can I just say something about your Robert's Rules of Order sheet?
Yes,
It does not have on here that I can see. Quite a personal privilege, which is one of my favorites. If
Okay.
a member says something just for himself that is totally wrong, that, you know, connected to me in some way, I can rise and say that, and it is not debatable. So check it out. I may be wrong. I'm maybe 20 years out of date.
You're right. It's just a matter of, it might be in here in one of these.
It might change. I operate off my 1952 edition.
I know.
The original.
It's lovely. It's
which point of privilege?
Personal privilege.
And actually, I used it once, and the county lawyer said, "You can't do that." I said, "Yes, I can." So she sat and argued. Kathleen went off to check with another lawyer. I won my.
I will check.
It-
I have a Robert's book, so I will check.
It's a real thing. So,
Yeah. And just to remind everybody that we keep referring to Robert's Rules of Order, but what the bylaws say, and as far as I can tell, always have said, is that Robert's Rules of Order are to be used as a guideline, but not a mandatory.
not as a hammer.
Yeah.
Same as Ken.
And
I
yeah,
would like to request permission to have the floor for just under 4 minutes to speak on what Marilee had presented.
okay.
Let's see. It's, Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is John Stubbs, and I serve as president of the Blighted Community Neighborhood Association. Thank you for joining us, whether in person or on Zoom. I stand here before you to propose the critical step towards strengthening our community engagement and representation. For years, the Neighborhood Associations Council has played a significant role in supporting and organizing our county neighborhood associations. It has established bylaws and guidelines aimed at fostering community participation and collaboration. However, Clark County has evolved, and it has become clear that the current structure no longer effectively represents or serves the interest of the neighborhoods. Despite the board's service, several key issues hinder its effectiveness. Limited engagement and participation from neighborhood associations, since even today we can't make quorum. Bureaucratic inefficiencies that impede timely decision-making. Lack of clear authority in advocating for neighborhoods' concerns. Communication and collaboration challenges between associations. And most recently, the call for an at-large position with no clear roles and responsibilities. These challenges create barriers to meaningful representation and community-driven action. To build a structure that generally serves our residents, we must take decisive action. And given these challenges, it is clear that action is necessary. Therefore, I move that we restructure the Neighborhood Associations Council of Clark County in accordance with this, and fortunately passing these out. Copies of the proposed bylaws are being distributed to the board by co-vice presidents Doug Morrison and Karina Stubbs, and will be shared with all neighborhood associations following this meeting. The intention is to review, discuss, and bring the proposal to a formal vote at the next scheduled meeting, as stipulated in the current NAC bylaws. I respectfully submit this motion for consideration and request a second.
Wes Hazeldahl seconds the motion.
There's a copy this side from we emailed just now that can be distributed to all neighborhood associations.
So we have an entire month until the next meeting to review these and discuss and make any motion for amendments and whether we want to move forward or not.
The way our current bylaws do state that any amendments would then need to be, before it could be voted on, would need to be another month.
Correct.
That's right.
Correct.
Okay, I'll have to send these for review too.
Sorry?
I'll have to send these for review too.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll do that as well.
Okay, we don't have time for much of anything else except for one important function, and that is to formally thank Bridget for her service as our secretary over the last, year or so? And wish her an easy, or at least not overly complicated move to Michigan, and happy time there. And Kirk has donated a cake for us all to share.
Actually, cheesecake and the tuxedo cake.
Oh, thank you. So for Amy and Kim, since you're not here and we can't feed you cake through the screen, did either one of you want to say anything to Bridget before we close off the Zoom part of it?
Hey, gonna miss you,
Thank you.
but I can always text you and call you, right?
Yes, yeah.
Or email.
Yeah, that's it. So I just want to thank everybody. I've been a disruptive voice on occasion, and an inefficient secretary on occasion.
A strong advocate for your beliefs.
A strong advocate for my belief. For the betterment of the organization, always in my head anyway. So thank you all. So appreciate it. And keep up the good work.
We need to get Cheryl back here to figure out how to change that email back, because I don't know how to do it.
No, Bill can do.
Does Bill know how to do it?
I guess so. She left me,
The instruction?
well,
Oh, okay.
I hope they're
If
in
he's
there
got it,
somewhere.
then
Yeah,
I know how to
we'll
get it.
figure-
I know where Cheryl is. I can find her.
But I changed passwords in Cheryl. That's what Cheryl.
And I will probably change
Okay,
the
But
passwords
he's,
again.
the name.
But you have the password in there so that he can get in and fix it? Okay. Okay.
You told me you did.
Huh?
You told me you were.
Well, thanks for joining us online. I'm gonna go ahead and sign off so that we can eat cheesecake.
Point of order, we haven't really heard a clear response from the chair whether John's motion is going to be put on the agenda
No, we'll put it on the agenda.
for next month.
Yeah.
Yes. And I have to run it through the PA's office too.
Okay.
Which could hold it up. Then sometimes-
Hopefully it won't. We have a new person now. What is the PA office? The civil branch of the PA's office.
Legal.